morning. So I had this idea recently that I really wanted to revisit some of the books I read in middle school and kind of see how they fare now as an adult. And so to start this series off, I decided to go with what I consider to be the ultimate middle school read, Twilight. So my relationship with Twilight is a little bit complicated because it was really hard to be a Twilight fan back in the day. If you liked Twilight, you were either like absolutely in the trenches trying to defend yourself and your fandom and your choices. And so for the longest time, I honestly just acted like I hated it because in my like 12-year-old brain, it was better to just secretly like it versus dealing with a world that hates anything that like teenagers and preteens like. You know, that whole thing about how the world hates anything that teenage girls like. It was pretty much that. So I also have this really vivid memory of reading Twilight. I read it all in one day. Have not done that now as an adult. And I remember hiding under my blanket in my bed with a flashlight and staying up all night just so I could finish it. And then the next day, my dog ate the copy of it that we had borrowed from the library, so we had to replace it. So I guess that showed my dog's opinion on the series. So now as an adult, I decided to revisit Twilight and revisit Forks, the land of sparkly vampires and giant werewolves. And I have thoughts. So my first main thought is, why is Bella so miserable? I remember reading Twilight at 12 and being like, oh my God, she's just like me. She is not just like me. For all of my issues that I had when I believe she's 17 in the book right now, for all of the issues that I had at 17, I don't think I remember being that miserable. And the book really doesn't give us any reason why. She just says that she feels like she never fits in. Girl, that's everybody. So one thing I also want to talk about is I think that in the book, Bella has a lot more personality than in the movies, which is kind of a common criticism if you kind of hang out in the Twilight circles on the internet. And honestly, I don't think that's a knock to Kristen Stewart because I think Kristen Stewart is a phenomenal actress. I just think that the direction, for whatever reason, got lost. I also do not understand the clumsiness thing. As I read this book, Bella is falling every 2 seconds. And this isn't just a Twilight thing. This is in a lot of young adult novels. It's like the female main character is either the clumsiest person on the planet or they are like somehow extremely talented with a weapon. There is no in between. There is no like just normal human being. That just doesn't exist. So I don't understand why we're falling all over the place. There's a scene in the book where Bella goes to the beach with her friends and she goes hiking and she falls multiple times. Multiple times? You've got to be kidding me. Like, okay, I can see one time, falling one time. She's constantly tripping over books, tripping over air, over everything, and I do not understand it. Because when I read the book the first time, I was like, oh my God, she's so quirky. And as an adult, I want to make her like a doctor's appointment. Like, you cannot be existing in the world like this. I'm so sorry. You just can't. I'm concerned for you. One thing I do like though is I think the book does a really good job of that feeling when you're a teenager and you're embarrassed by like absolutely everything. Bella is embarrassed by her dad, which she shouldn't be. Charlie is the best character and I will die on that hill. And she's just embarrassed walking down the halls at school and it's almost like she's embarrassed by like breathing. And I will say, I do remember feeling like that as a teenager. So I was like, okay, that still holds up. So I do kind of think that was like funny. She's talking about how she's trying to like control her breathing and it kind of reminds me of like when you were in school and you were scared to like cough in class for whatever reason. That was like the scariest thing that could ever happen to you. So currently in the book, we haven't yet found out that Edward is a vampire, but we are close. We're getting ready to get to the part where Bella does her like wild Google searches. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think another slight criticism I have of this book is actually in the writing. I remember when I was reading it when I was younger, and my mom said that the book had like too many adjectives and adverbs. And honestly, I think she's right. Like, I understand world building, but I also don't know how many descriptions of Edward's like perfectly like tousled hair I need. I think if we were to take out just descriptions of hair in this book, the book would be half the size. So currently I'm really excited to see where we end up with it, but this is a lot different than the Twilight I remember as a kid.